Welcome to At the Disney Movies with the Hearts.
I'm Kelly.
I'm David.
And this week, it's The Sword and the Stone.
No,
No, you have to say it like that every time you say it, though.
No.
A dark age indeed. Age of inconvenience. No plumbing. No electricity. No nothing. Oh, hang it all! Hang it all!
Because it's really weird, the things that you remember from childhood. And for some reason, the end of that movie where the dude's like, someone's pulled the sword from the stone. It just it just sticks out in my head.
Give the boy a chance. It's the same guy that says that.
Yeah, no, I know. It's, so I'm really curious what you thought about this movie, because you were very difficult to read. And I also wasn't...
Secret.
I wasn't actually trying to read your reaction, but what was your reaction?
It's a really silly movie.
So
extremely silly.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
So, did you like it?
It's good. It's not the best, but it's good.
It's kind of a weird movie.
There's a lot of holes in it, and it is kind of weird, and at times it doesn't make sense because it doesn't explain anything.
No. Why is he being turned into all these animals? What kind of...
Well, that I kind of understood. To give him different perspectives of experience. It wasn't clear in the beginning why Merlin was just going to educate him and he was going to steal him. Basically Merlin owned the kid.
Oh, yeah. Well, he knew that the kid was destined for greatness. He just didn't know what, but he did. Yeah, sort of.
He totally knew.
Well, but the extent of Merlin's knowledge or powers is not really explained.
I mean, he's obviously omnipotent, but he's too daffy to remember everything all at the same time.
It's just not really explained. Exactly what his limitations are and what his knowledge is.
It seems that it's everything.
So Merlin's God, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of an odd movie, and I liked this movie a lot as a kid, and it's confusing to me what you remember versus as an adult doesn't line up.
Here's the thing, though. It's a very fun movie that you could watch kind of in the background, and it'd be really entertaining.
Yeah.
But if you really pay attention to it, it's kind of like, what? Yeah,
no, 100%. Let's see if the synopsis lines up with
what happens.
Yeah. The Sword and the Stone, 1963. Family, fantasy, animation, action, adventure. According to legend, only someone with honor, decency, and inner strength can claim the throne of England by pulling out the enchanted sword that lies locked in a massive stone. Many brave knights have tried, so it seems impossible that a young apprentice known as Wart could succeed. But with the guidance of Wizard Merlin, help from some hilarious friends, and true strength of character, Wart just might become England's greatest king. Contains tobacco descriptions.
One time. Come on. Merlin had a smoke and a dream.
What friends is he talking about? Archimedes?
Some squirrels.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, otherwise there's not a lot of friends.
But that's what I mean. They said Merlin and then friends. Well,
the bullfrog.
No. But
and the other thing, the honesty and did they even explain that in the beginning of the movie? I don't think so.
No. I mean, they just said that the true king, had to pull the sword from the stone, but they didn't explain any of those virtues, and that wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't a part of anything.
That wasn't Merlin going, "You need to show these virtues." Blah blah blah. It was just, you need to be smart. That was all it was. But then it was. We'll get into it. I had some thoughts about this whole thing. But well, clearly I have thoughts.
Clearly there's thoughts.
Clearly there's thoughts. So I was actually, I don't think I realized that the director directed so many movies.
So basically, this movie has its hands up in the guts of all kinds of other Disney animated movies.
Yeah. Wolfgang Reitherman. Aristocats, Jungle Book, Robin Hood.
Fox and the Hound.
Oh, I didn't see Fox and the Hound.
Yeah.
The Rescuers. He worked on Sleeping Beauty, Winnie the Pooh. He was all over the place.
Yeah, and those uncredited ones, the Clyde Geromini and David Hand, also worked on Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Bambi.
David Hand.
Yeah. Which was fun for me to write. Small variation on my own name.
I think his cousin is David Foot.
It's his little brother.
So yeah, I mean, and that's really interesting because all those movies kind of have the same type of feel to them, sort of.
Do they, though?
I think so, yeah.
Sort of. To me, this feels more like the Jungle Book and Robin Hood.
Yeah, that's what
than
I'm
anything
saying.
else. Yeah, okay, yeah. But this one, the animation in this was kind of...
Not good.
It was not that great in a lot of sections.
Yeah. And
there were a few parts that looked really good, but not many.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that as we get into it. But so this was sandwiched in between, what did we figure out it was? 101 Dalmatians and Jungle Book?
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as animated movies in Disney canon go, yeah.
Yeah. So I was actually really surprised because I thought I recognized more of the voice actors, but...
Yeah. And I mean, you kind of maybe did.
Yeah, from other Disney stuff, but not well, except for the guy who plays Merlin. It was bothering me the whole movie. Well, he's in Little House on the Prairie, which I used to watch with my mom, so that's probably why I'm remembering that voice.
Where the voice is from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Ricky Sorensen played Wart, and he really was just a bit Hollywood actor.
The Sir Esther guy, Sebastian Cabot, I do recognize him from the Jungle Book. He plays the panther, Bagheera.
You don't recognize him from narrating Winnie the Pooh?
Oh, I guess, but he narrated this film, too. He was the narrator and the... No, I don't remember that. I just remember the...
See, to me, the one that I recognize the most is that Archimedes is Rabbit in Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, and that's...
Because they're playing almost exactly the same character. Archimedes is a flying rabbit.
But better.
Yeah, better. I will definitely give you better. Yeah, because he's educated, so he's better.
And you say he will arrive in half an hour. Well, we'll just see. And you will, Archimedes, you will.
And this movie had a lot of scenes that I really liked.
Yeah, I did.
But they all didn't really make a cohesive story, but they did at the same time. It's a weird movie, but I like it, but it's
weird. It is weird.
It's a strange movie,
yeah.
And I don't know, it's odd. Did you find any fun facts or trivia?
Yeah, that Wart had 3 different voices because over the 3 years it took him to make the movie, his voice changed. So the director's kids had to come in and finish up Art.
Wart?
Because Arthur. You know,
there you
Art,
go. Oh, we see what you did.
Wart, yeah. Because he grew up in the 3 years that they made the movie. So he couldn't
really
just
funny.
be him anymore.
That's really funny, actually.
Yeah.
Well, and it kind of makes sense because kind of at the beginning of the movie, or parts of the movie, he kind of had that high-pitched, sort of cracking voice, so that actually kind of makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense, looking back.
I had a couple of facts, but one that I thought was really interesting. This is the only animated Disney movie from the 60s to not have a Platinum DVD, sequel, TV show, or live-action remake.
That makes sense.
Did you have any other facts?
No, I think one is enough.
Well, okay, I have one more, real quick. But it's important because this is the last animated film that Disney produced before he died.
Oh.
Because he died when they were still in production of Jungle Book.
Oh.
So this is the last one that he fully saw to completion of the animated movies.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's curious to me that there's not more of this in Disneyland, Disney World.
I mean, there's just at Disneyland there, and I think at Disney World too, that there's the sword that you can try to pull from the stone or whatever. But no, there's not really much. I mean, there is some Merlin stuff, I think, but it's just not very popular.
It seems like Archimedes could do better for himself.
It's just not a very popular Disney movie.
Which does make sense because Wart is not super relatable. And Merlin is great, but, you know.
Kind of a dickhole.
No, I like that about him.
No, I know
yeah.
you do.
But yeah, he's not like a really super marketable character, and there are 5 million Merlins.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's. I don't really know why it's not more popular, because anybody that you talk to that's seen this movie is like, oh, I love Sword in the Stone. Everybody who's seen it likes it or has fond memories of it, but it's just...
And I totally agree with that, but is it super... Are you like, oh, you know what, we should watch Sword in the Stone?
I mean, maybe. You could have it on in the background, like you said.
But yeah, that might be the problem, is that it's a very good background movie, where you can look up and be like, oh, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah. But the movie didn't really have a big cast, though. I mean, it was very small.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot. There were very few moving parts to it, that's for sure.
Yeah, like pretty much every scene was just Merlin interacting with Arthur, and that was about it. Pretty much every scene, that's what it was. There was only a handful that it wasn't. Do you have anything else to add? Should we...
No, let's get into this.
All right, let's open the book. Well, unsurprisingly, this movie's based on a book by T.H. White.
Yeah, and then in a story as old as time, the King Arthur thing.
Yeah, but it's essentially a prequel to King Arthur.
Yeah.
And then you, at the beginning of the credits, oh, look, the Sherman Brothers.
Yeah, clearly they were all over the songs in this.
Yeah. And it has that, classic Disney storybook opening, which they don't do anymore, but they did that.
Yeah, with the credits first and the jaunty music and...
Well, but even just having the book itself.
They should do that for all these movies that are based on a book. Every single one of them should have to open that way, even if they're live action.
I mean, it would make sense.
And it's kind of cool. You're like, oh, really? A book? Man, maybe I should read.
What are words? I only know about Instagram. Pictures only.
Yeah.
So basically it tells the backstory really quick, just dumps all that out. The magical sword just one day appeared, and it said, whoever pulls this sword from the stone is the rightful king of England.
But for right now, they're in a dark and scary age of people killing each other.
Well, they have no leader. Funny how that happens.
Yeah, no leader, no laws. It's shocking what happens.
Correct, sir.
So we go into the forest and we meet Wacky Merlin right off the bat. And it makes it clear up front that he's a time traveler, because he's going on about how, oh, this is such a hassle because he's trying to get water out of the well. And oh, this is a medieval mess.
No plumbing, no electricity. And why wouldn't he plumb and electrify his own home?
Oh, you mean why wouldn't he just use magic? Because there seems to be no consequences or cost to using his magic. He just can use it willy-nilly.
But he could even he could even do the technology backwards and just plumb his house.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just use your magic? Oh, let me put this bucket down here instead of struggling.
In Harry Potter, weren't they supposed to disappear their poops to somewhere?
I don't know anything about that.
I think I read something about that.
I don't know anything about that, but where would it go?
They would just send it out into a field or something.
Gross. God, then why wouldn't they just pile it up and then throw it at Voldemort? That would have been such a better way. Anyways, this is not that podcast.
Yeah, not at all.
So he goes inside and we meet Archimedes, the super sassy owl.
Yeah, he's got an attitude.
Yeah, he's what?
What? He's a grumpy owl. Shocking.
Yeah.
But he is funny. So, I mean, there is that. He's always dissing and dismissing Merlin as just a crazy old fool.
Because he is. He's definitely a crazy guy. And he's talking about how someone's coming to visit, but I don't know who. But yet he knows that this person is going to come directly from
and he
the
knows
ceiling.
he's a 10 or 11-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah, because he's visioning and he sees...
Yeah, he starts smoking and he sees Kay first.
Oh, yeah, and he's saying...
He's like, no, that's all wrong. He's 20 years old. He's a big old guy. No, that's not right. And then you see Wart scrambling into the picture behind him.
With the smallest legs I've ever seen.
Yeah. He's basically a stick on limbs.
A stick on limbs.
Yeah.
And so basically, Wart is following around Kay and... He's watching him hunt this deer that looks suspiciously like Bambi's mom, but
yeah,
whatever. So she just lives forever, apparently, until she doesn't.
Yeah.
Spoiler. And he falls off there. The tree branch breaks, which makes Kay shoot his arrow up in the sky. And so he runs away from Kay, and he's saying, I'll get the arrow. And Kay's like, oh, blah, 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 I'll get you, blah, blah, blah.
And then he runs off into the forest, and Kay's like, oh, there's wolves out there, you'll get killed, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but better you than me.
Yeah.
And we do see this wolf that is kind of essentially a Wile E. Coyote character.
It's the scrawniest, weakest, least wily wolf you've ever seen in your life. Mm-hmm. It is very Wile E. Coyote. Very Wile E. Coyote.
It looks like animated, just
yeah.
It's a little weird. Which
they probably should have been sued. Because that, honestly, I didn't think about that before, but that is Wile E. Coyote.
Because he's constantly trying to catch them, can't do it. And
yeah, with slightly better teeth. That's all it is.
Yeah. And so then he climbs up the tree to get the arrow, and the wolf is waiting at the bottom, but he falls through Merlin's ceiling.
Yeah, he falls right into the chair of Merlin.
And Merlin just starts doing magic, no big deal, and Arthur
talking about his education. This is where this scene needed to breathe quite a bit more.
Right, because if you were this 12-year-old kid,
right,
you'd never seen even electricity, and this guy's just like making sugar bowls do the tango or whatever, and
he's going on about how he needs to educate you. No,
he's totally cool with it. He's just okay, and maybe it's a thing of how simple people were back then, just because they.
In the Dark Ages?
Yeah, like it just...
But think about Unidentified Flying Oddball. That lady was totally skeptical about the spacesuit guy.
Maybe that's when you're... Are you a monster? When you're a kid, you just readily accept that stuff.
Well, I guess maybe if you're an orphan, too, that probably doesn't hurt. You're just okay.
Yeah, and he's all, oh no, I can't. I have to go back. I'm going to be a squire, and blah, 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 blah.
Merlin Squire, pish posh.
Yeah, and so he's going to go with him, and we get our first little, I guess I would say jingle of the movie, because
it's tons of jingles. There's no real songs.
But they're so catchy, though.
Are they, though? I can't remember a single one.
Huckety, puckety, wuckety, whack. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Drinking size, very small. We got to make enough room for all. Sorry, I just...
Huckety, puckety, wuckety, whack. Abber, knack. Shrinking size, very small. We got to save enough room for all. Higgitus, piggitus, mum.
Good job.
Okay, well, but to be fair, this particular scene was also on one of those Disney sing-along things.
Oh, yeah, that helps. And see, I don't think I've ever seen this movie.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely... We didn't have it in the fancy box, but we had it recorded somewhere.
I feel this movie didn't come out in the fancy box.
No, it did.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Is that why it didn't make... it said it was the only one that didn't...
Well, maybe.
We'll see when we're done.
And when we say fancy box, we're talking about the plastic box that if you don't know what that is...
If you don't know what it is, you're not listening to this. I'm sorry. You're not.
It opens and it's like...
Yeah. I didn't have a single one of them, just to...
We had a number of them, but we had a lot of weird ones that you'd be like, what? Why do you have that, but you don't have Little Mermaid? What is wrong with you, mother?
Because those ones were expensive. The better movies were more money.
Well, depends on how you define better. I mean, we had Beauty and the Beast, we had Aladdin, we had some of the
I
other
think
ones,
those were kind of so widely released that, yeah.
Well, so was Little Mermaid, but we didn't.
I don't think so, though, because it was the first one that did well.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, the song, and basically he's shrinking everything down and putting it in the suitcase, and there are a lot of little tiny gags in the movie, like the whole sugar pot thing.
So the problem is that there's so many gags that we're not going to be able to touch on.
Well, no, I know, but that particular one was funny, where he's like, "Oh, stop, sugar boy, that poor little teapot."
Yeah, it was really funny. It's great. And then it gives it one last elbow crack into the teapot, which that was funny. I do agree with you.
So sassy sugar boy, da-da-da-da. So they're just walking, and the wolf is following them, but they're going in the wrong direction. And
biting at their ankles, but nobody notices.
Right. And then they have to turn around. The wolf gets to the top of the hill just as they're turning around, dying.
Yeah, he's done. Because he's a skinny, scrawny wolf. He's weak. Yeah. So he's just done at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And we jump to the fat dad.
Well, his stepdad.
No, foster dad.
No, foster. Okay, whatever.
Big difference.
Yeah, well,
Big difference.
I will say they did do a good job explaining things in kind of a natural way, because he's just talking about how, oh, I feel responsible for him. You know, I took him in.
This is the only part of the movie where that was done in a good job.
Well, I mean, but no, the very opening scene, Merlin's, oh, this is such a pain and blah, blah, blah. No, he's a time traveler.
That was fine too, but I'm not going to give it that much credit because there's plenty of other really confusing things.
Fair enough. And so then they come in, he yells at Wart, Arthur, it's Ector is his name, and then Merlin, he's yelling at Merlin.
Which I couldn't figure out for the longest time what his name was.
I only knew because of the subtitles.
Right. It took me another 30 minutes to find the subtitle and realize that Ector was his name. I was like, oh, this is stupid.
Merlin demonstrates his power with an indoor blizzard. The guy's like, oh, okay, you can stay, blah, 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 blah. And
that checks out to me because he was scared.
Well, sure, but it doesn't make sense for things that happen later in the movie. But so they put him up in this leaky tower, I think hoping he's just going to go away.
Yeah, it's a forgotten tower that's disrepaired.
Leaking with rain everywhere.
Yeah, because there's a big rainstorm. Merlin hears Pellinor, who really has no real role in the rest of the movie other than throwing in a couple of lines.
Other than at the end, let the boy try.
I don't think that... Oh, it was him. Yeah, but you remember the black-bearded guy being like, let the boy try. Get out of the way.
The sword and the stone.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get over that eventually.
So the big news from London is that there's going to be a big tournament on New Year's Day, and the winner is the King of England. Oh, let's make Kay the king, because he's a genius.
Oh, I could do that. Sure. Sounds fun.
So Ector is going to get Kay knighted, and Wart is going to be his squire.
Right.
Even though Kay's... I don't want Wart to be my squire.
Yeah, he hates him.
Yeah.
And then we get into our first animal lesson. And Merlin is talking about being a fish and how there's... I don't remember exactly the message of what he was telling Wart. This is just his first initial thing to be essentially brains over brawn type lesson. So he transforms them both into fish.
Yeah, and they go swimming in the moat.
Yeah, and then there's another song, the to and fro. Dun,
that
dun, dun.
That to me was one of the better songs. I like that one. It had a good message.
Yeah.
The balance of life and nature.
And as they're swimming around, and they go through the grass, and it's really silly. So let's go back through that grass again. It tickles.
And then they encounter this gigantic pike.
Yeah, which is the scariest fish ever.
Oh, in real life, too. I mean, those things are monsters. I would love to catch one someday.
How big do they get, do you think?
I think in the 3 to 4 foot range.
Oh, okay, so good size.
They're big, crazy fish.
Okay. And so there's a whole scene where they go back and forth, and Merlin is like, "Oh yeah, just figure it out." Where he's about to get eaten.
That's kind of his way. I mean, he knows things are going to work out.
So yeah, I mean, you're right. He knows it's going to work out, but it's still like.
So there's this very intense scene of this gigantic fish trying to eat.
Well, and he does. You know, he grabs an arrow and is able to stab the fish, but then he's jumping out of the water and Archimedes...
Yeah, he definitely uses his brain enough to free himself, but not enough because a pike is a master predator.
He's been a fish for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But Archimedes sees him and he's like, Archimedes, help! And Archimedes comes down and, gets in the water, and it's this whole wacky scene of Archimedes trying to save him. And
yeah, while the pike is trying to eat both Archimedes and Mr. Man there.
Mr. Man. I'm a boy.
Yeah, I'm a boy. I don't like that his name is Wart or Arthur. It's so not memorable.
Merlin gets out of the water and then changes him back and, oh, do you get the lesson? Oh yeah, use brains over brawn. But then he has to run back to the castle.
And Art tells Ector and Kay what he was doing.
But they don't believe him, which doesn't make any sense.
Of course not.
You saw Merlin use his power. Obviously, it's true.
That's the biggest fishtail I've ever heard.
But that
and it's just it's just grating, and Hector is just a douche and punishes him extra just because he told the story, and it just makes you hate both of them, as you should.
Well, yeah, they're both a bunch of idiots,
Yeah.
and so they punish him by having him do all these dishes, and why do they have so many dishes? There's literally 5 people that live in that castle.
Which also makes no sense. Why are they taking care of this abandoned castle again?
I guess back in the Dark Ages, people just had castles. I don't know.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Who was the master of the castle?
Sir Hector.
No, Sir Hector was the master worker of the castle. He was the lead cleaner.
No, he wasn't. Because, no. Because when they were in there, they were all eating all fancy at the table, drinking wine when the Pelagon guy... He's the lead head of the castle.
Oh.
And he shows Merlin to, this is our finest room, and blah, 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 blah. It's his castle. Sir Hector. He's a sir.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's right, yeah. He just seems like a poor person. He acts like a poor... he acts like a poor person.
Yeah. So he punishes him, but Merlin shows up and is, oh, don't do these dishes. I'm just gonna...
We need to get an assembly line going.
And...
A modern assembly line.
Which, I do like this part, but also, he's kind of teaching him that, this, doing manual labor is a waste of time. Which it's not. It teaches you about working hard.
It's fine, but he doesn't need to do the extreme amount that they're having him do. He needs to be learning stuff.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's just... So he leaves that, the dishes are all going crazy, and we get my favorite scene of a lot of Disney movies.
Yep, I'm going to agree with that already.
David, this scene is so funny.
And I'm talking about from the beginning of this scene until the very end, the heart-wrenching end of this scene.
Yeah, it's a little upsetting.
Yeah.
But he turns him into a squirrel, and everything's going along, but then he meets a girl squirrel, which... anybody that's seen this movie knows this is hilarious because and she's just obsessed with him, and her whole interaction is, if you think about squirrels, that seems like how they would interact.
And whoever did that girl squirrel did a really good job.
Yeah, and she's all like just pestering him and get away! I'm not a squirrel.
And just flirting hard with him and just in love with him.
Go on. You've got lots of room.
Well, I guess she can't be sidetracked. That's a girl squirrel, lad, and a redhead at that.
She sure acts funny.
Yeah, she likes you.
Yeah, and so they're running all over the place, jumping off stuff, and Merlin is just laughing at him, but then...
Oh boy, that's how it goes!
But then, the buff lady squirrel that starts getting on Merlin is so funny.
He's so offended.
Yeah, I am an old man, and when he pushes her, but then she, just pushes him into the tree.
You busted up laughing when she did that. That was funny.
Because it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. It's such an original, weird scene.
Yeah. Well, she pushes him and then she's laughing into her tail.
But I mean, the whole thing, it goes on for a long time.
It's a long scene, yeah.
And it's so highly relatable.
In what way?
You understand. Haven't we all been chased like that at some time or another in our lives? And...
Maybe.
Okay. It's so funny.
Yeah. So now I'll just come up to you.
And she kept touching his nose, or...
Well, it's because he was pushing his hands on her nose, and she thought that was so funny, so she kept trying to push his hands on her nose, and she was like...
Oh.
But then, while Merlin... Ward goes up to Merlin, I'm tired of being a squirrel, nothing but trouble. He's like, you've got trouble, and then...
Yeah, you think you have trouble.
And he gets knocked off the tree.
Wart does.
And
onto this crusty old tree branch, and his lovely lady sees him in danger.
Because the wolf is
with the wolf down there, and he falls off. hits the wolf with the branch.
But then he's stuck in it with his tail.
Yeah, his tail is stuck in the, I don't know what you ever call the cracks of the branch.
Log hole.
It wasn't a hole. It's like the split cracks.
Yeah.
So, as the wolf is just about to eat Mr. Art, his lady comes and bites the crap out of the Achilles tendon of the wolf.
Yeah.
The wolf's like, oh, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, and so then he chases her, but she gets away, and...
Yeah, she heroically saves him.
Yeah.
She's the hero of this story.
Yeah, really, though. Everybody needs a squirrel to save them. And so then Merlin changes himself back into a man, and the big squirrel is like, ugh! And he's like, I'm an ugly, scary old man. And then the girl squirrel is super cuddling on Wart, but then Merlin changes him back into a boy, and she can't believe it, and
she's devastated.
I don't think I remembered it being kind of sad, but
it was super sad.
because then she like runs up in the tree and she's like, you can hear her doing her little squirrel cries.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm really sorry. If only you could understand. And she's like, and it keeps going on a little bit too long.
Yeah. Well, no, long enough to make it hurt you. So this is the thing I'm most disappointed with about this movie. Is why not at the end, somebody could have been like, oh, he needs a queen, and they turned that squirrel into a lady.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
It would have made this movie literally perfect if they would have done that.
That's actually a really good idea. Why didn't they do that?
Yeah.
Why didn't Merlin do that?
Thanks, Disney. When you remake this, go ahead. Steal my idea.
Credit to be given to At the Disney Movies with Heart. Trademark, we called it, so if you use it, we're going to sue you. But please do. Please use it.
Yeah.
And give us credit. And pay us.
Yeah, thanks.
But that is actually a really good... I never thought about that, but that's a really good point.
I was waiting for it to happen. I was like, okay, so please turn the squirrel into a lady. No.
Because that really would have made it kind of come full circle, and
it would have added the kind of extra heart that it kind of needed.
Yeah, no, that's good. No,
Yeah.
that's really a really good point.
Yeah, it would have buttoned up something that upset me.
I didn't realize it affected you so much.
It was sad. She was very upset. She went to the top of that tree to watch them leave, and she's sad. It's not cool.
No, it's not. And it's just that she doesn't know. Like, she's an animal. So, but if you changed an animal into a human, would they just be really stupid? Like, how would that work?
He turned Mr. Archimedes into a smart thing, so I'm sure he could do whatever he needed to do.
Then we go back to the castle, and there's a whole scene where Kay and Sir Ector, they go and they fight with the dishes, and it's a whole, silly scene where they get hit in the head and all this.
Yeah, they're just dumb. Oh, what is this black magic that's cleaning our dishes and cleaning our kitchen? You idiots. And then they start attacking dishes.
Yep, I said highlighting dumb people.
Yeah, Kay gets mopped up by the mop.
This part also, when Arthur comes back, he stands up for himself. He's like, and he says exactly what we're all thinking. It's something to the effect of, you can't just crap on everything that you don't understand.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
And then he gets real punished. And the guy's like, you're not going to be the squire anymore, little kid. And,
yeah, it's going to Hobbs, which we never see Hobbs, but whatever.
Merlin comes back and talks to him and is like, oh...
Well, yeah, because Merlin disappears at this time.
Well, he feels kind of bad, I think, a little bit.
Yeah,
But not really, because it's all falling into his plan.
Yeah, I don't think Merlin ever feels bad. I think he just let him take his punishment and kind of think about things.
Merlin is kind of a non-alcoholic version of Rick from Rick and Morty. He's just, I'm better than all these people, whatever, I do what I want.
He's 100%, you're 100% right. That is exactly what he is.
And then Wart is like Morty.
Time traveling, and that's... Man, Rick and Morty have got some questions
Sir Ector is Jerry.
that guy has got some questions to answer about this. That Dan Harmon dude.
It's just it's a story archetype. It's the same.
Yeah,
like
no, I know,
yeah.
But I mean, I'm just saying, it's pretty close.
That's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah, it was. It's pretty good.
Oh, so then we get the scene where Merlin is, look at my flying machine, because he's going to teach... Well, first he's going, and Archimedes makes a really good point, because he's going on and on about all this stuff that doesn't make any sense. And Archimedes is like, he can't go around saying the world is round. He's going to be viewed a crazy person, which is true.
Right, like he needs to learn history first.
Right.
Or how to read first.
Yeah, because then Merlin gets all butthurt and he's like, fine, you teach him. And so that's where Archimedes finds out, oh, he doesn't know how to read and write. So he starts teaching him
The basics.
And that's where Merlin pulls out his flying machine and is like, look at it go. But he, like, messes it up and it crashes. And
it gets caught in his beard.
Well, and Archimedes has been, like, telling him this whole time, oh, man wasn't meant to fly. He would have been born with wings.
And this is the second best part.
Oh, where he won't stop laughing?
When he just cracks the up. Like, insanely cracks up.
Oh, men will fly all right. Just like a rock.
It would have worked if it weren't for this infernal beard.
Well, and he just keeps going forever.
Yeah, it just goes and goes and goes.
Yeah,
and
it's really funny.
And see, so that's one of the most insidious parts of this movie, is that there are things in this movie that are funny as hell.
Well, it's kind
and
of...
way out of their time funny as hell, and this is one of them.
It's kind of like a live-action Disney, but it's animated.
Yeah, and it would have been better as a live-action movie, just like UFO was.
Well, they will probably remake it at some point.
Yeah, but they're past the point of being able to remake it the right way.
Yeah, because it needs to be wackier. But I agree. That part was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, it was perfect in its uncomfortable length. And he was just over the top.
Well, because he had just got done telling him, like, hey, dude, man's not supposed to fly. Merlin's like, hey, I'm smart. Look at my... And it got totally... But he's... Yeah, it would be funny if he, like... Yeah. But then, Arthur has to get all serious and be Debbie Downer. And like, oh, I wish I could fly, and blah, blah, blah. And so Merlin
I didn't find that Debbie Downer. I just thought he was talking about how he has dreams of flying.
Well, he has to get all serious and break the mood. Didn't laugh at all. Lame sense of humor.
I don't think people laughed really back then.
In the Dark Ages?
Yeah.
Like, what is that sound coming out of your mouth?
Hey, what's wrong with you? Are you mad?
You're a terrible bard.
Oh, man, I would have been screwed. Anywhere where it's not okay to laugh, I would be in a lot of trouble.
Been like the fool. It's fine. The drunk fool.
Yeah.
So then he's going to start teaching about flying, and Archimedes, being right again, is like, hey, don't you think of me being a bird should teach another...
Yeah, because he's like, oh, these are the primary feathers. These are blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. I'm a bird. I'm going to teach him. It's not about mechanics. It's about art. It's the art of flying.
Yeah. And so they go off, and he's telling him, spread your wings, do all this, and they're flying. And this part's kind of cute.
It is very cute. We're just going to glide first, and then you can kind of figure it out. Which, when you're doing something physical like that, it's pretty true.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike. You literally just
have to get on the bike and learn.
Yeah, and so he teaches him, but then there's a hawk that comes, so they have to die.
And this kind of pissed me off, because it's like, okay, we've gone with the same exact thing happening 3 times. And I was like, God, this is stupid. Well, because this one wasn't funny like the other two were.
No, it wasn't really, well, this wasn't really the point of this one, because then he ends up in Madame Mim's.
Yeah, which is fair, but it just, I could have done without the hawk.
Yeah, no, he could have just ended up there somewhere.
Yeah, he could have run into a tree or something and bonked into the fireplace. It would have been funnier.
Yeah. So he gets in there and we meet the marvelous Madame Mim, and as a kid I remember really liking this whole sequence a lot.
It's great. I liked it. And she's nuts.
She's Merlin's female counterpart.
But evil counterpart.
Oh yeah, she's like, I love everything. She sees him and she finds out that he's connected to Merlin, and she's like, I'm better than Merlin, and she just starts doing all this crazy stuff.
She's dancing and singing. She turns into a beautiful woman. She turns into the ugliest woman.
I'm the magnificent, marvelous madman of Mim. And then she's done, and she's like, what do you think now? And Arthur, being kind of dumb and naive, as his character is like, well, and he's not wrong. He's like, well, Merlin's magic is always useful and
good.
And she's like, oh, I'm going to have to destroy you now.
Yeah, she's like, oh, if Merlin thinks you're so great, I'm going to have to destroy you.
Yeah, so she changes into a cat, and they have a whole scene. But then, but Archimedes had gone and gotten Merlin in the meantime, because he saw him in the window with her, and so obviously he knows who she is.
Right. So Merlin shows up, stops her from eating him, or whatever she was going to do to him.
Destroy him is all they say.
Yeah, but I mean...
I win.
Yeah, that lady was a nutter.
She's great, right? Yeah. And I didn't actually look up who voiced her, though, but...
yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, I did. It was Martha Wentworth, but she didn't
do anything
else.
Well,
she did other, like, live action stuff, but...
Oh, okay. Another bit player.
Oh, no, but she actually did voice somebody in 101 Dalmatians.
She wasn't Cruella de Vil, was she?
No, she was the nanny.
So. I don't even remember the nanny.
You'll see.
Yeah, eventually.
Because we definitely had 101 Dalmatians. Like, that was one I watched a lot.
Fair enough.
And then they're going to have a wizard duel.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And I do remember this part a lot, because I remember this specific part I really liked.
Yeah.
Because they're changing into different animals to fight each other, and it's not too long of a scene.
No, and it's a very clever scene, because Merlin really uses the depth of his brain, whereas evil Madame Mims is just like uses the most obvious, over-the-top, powerful characters to try and overwhelm things.
Yeah.
And Merlin uses clever, small, very well thought out.
Well, when she's an elephant, he turns into a mouse, and she gets scared.
And that's what I wrote down. I was like, oh, there's the elephant and mouse trope.
Well, and like when he's a bunny and she like rips off his tail, and he gets all serious, like, madam, and he grabs his, and then she turns into a fox, and it's a whole thing. But they turn into a lot of animals. It's
way too many to count. Like, I didn't write any down, but it's very good. And of course, it ends with him having knowledge of the future and being a genius.
Well, she turns into a dragon, which is cheating, but she specifically said no pink dragons or anything, but she turned into a purple dragon.
Either way, he turns into a germ that infects the dragon.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And takes her down. I mean, it's genius, of course.
Yeah, and I do remember this whole part. I remembered that very clearly. Mm-hmm. He's like, you'll need lots of sunlight. I hate sunlight.
Yeah.
So
she keeps screaming about the sunlight as they're leaving, and he poked a hole in her roof so the sun would shine on her.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate it. I hate sunlight. No sunlight. Sunlight's the worst. I can't stand good old-fashioned sunlight.
Yeah. So they go back to the castle, right?
They make the point with Mr. Wart, that knowledge and wisdom are the real power.
Right.
And so, then back to the castle where Hobbs came down with some disease.
He was the replacement squire for
Kit. And so now, Wart, you're going to be the squire again.
Oh, that's right, because then he runs up to Merlin. He's like, oh, look, I'm going to be a squire. Merlin's being his typical butthole self.
Yeah, Merlin's being a dick. Wart cries like a little...
Well, but Archimedes is trying to, he's like, oh, it's very nice. Like, he's trying to,
Well, Archimedes is like, he's kind of the enabler. He also is the middle guy.
Well, and then they kept saying this throughout what does hang it all mean? Just basically, is that, hang it all? They kept saying that throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Okay. And, because, Merlin gets so upset, then all of a sudden he's just, blow me to Bermuda, and he gets blown off. Yeah, so Merlin goes off to Bermuda, and then we go to the tournament in London.
Which this scene is ultra fast, which is good.
Yeah, you really get to the end. because essentially they're watching the tournament, and then Kay is like, my sword, and Arthur's like, oh, I forgot your sword, and he's like, oh, you better go get it, and he falls over the thing the same way he fell over the stuff in the beginning.
Well, he's a moron. Kay is a brain-dead idiot.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure they just did that so they could reuse the animation cells.
Maybe.
No, really, because earlier, okay, so sidebar really quick, earlier in the movie when they're having the dishes scene, and he gets hit in the head, and he goes, oh, like that, that's a scene from 101 Dalmatians. That same, they reuse animation cells in these older movies.
Interesting.
I read a thing about it before, but it's the same, they do that, so I'm sure that's why they did it.
Fair enough.
So he runs back to the inn. No one's there. Of course, they're all at the tournament because that's when businesses
can't get in.
Used to close for things.
Oh, there's a sword over there.
And it's the sword in the courtyard of the church, the sword in the stone. And of course, when he touches it, it's like the heavens come down.
Well, even when he gets near to it, this light starts to shine down, and oh.
And then Archimedes says, oh, don't touch it.
Yeah. Archimedes is such a rabbit.
Yeah. He does pull it out, because he's like, Kay needs a sword, so he brings it back, and then Sir Ector because Kay's like, that's not my sword. And then Sir Ector is reading it, and he's like, oh, it's a sword in the stone, and then everyone starts grabbing it and freaking out, and he's like, where did you get it? And no one believes him, because he's a little kid.
But, so everybody's like, prove it. So they go and put the sword back, and it's stuck again.
Well, yeah, because
Kay can't pull it out.
No, exactly. And then all these other dudes come and try to pull it out, and all of a sudden the Pellegrin guy is like, let the boy try.
And then the big black-bearded guy is like, let the boy try.
Well, unless we skipped over the fact of that's the point earlier when he says, someone's poured the soul from, I can talk, someone's pulled the sword from the stone.
Someone's pulled the sword from the stone.
Okay, I was saying this to David before we even watched the movie in this voice. So clearly, for whatever reason, that line stuck out to me.
I think it's that guy's voice. That guy has a big, booming, deep voice.
Yeah,
and it's
as a
very
child,
good.
I was probably like, man, this voice is so hot. I don't know.
The boy then pulls the sword from the stone, and everybody starts bowing to him immediately.
Hail, King Arthur!
Yeah.
Long live the king!
And Kay is just hating it. Ector is like, hey, you have to bow. I'm bowing. I'm
He's
so
like,
sorry.
Please forgive me. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. I'm groveling before you. He doesn't say that, but that's what he's doing.
And then we cut to Arthur on the throne alone with just Archimedes.
It's like the biggest throne ever.
Yeah, and he's wearing like that like is it a cape?
Yeah,
That's like a Santa suit at the same time with black dots on the white.
It's a Corella cape essentially.
Is that what it is?
Kind of, but
okay.
It's a traditional royal. That's what they would wear, and he has this crown that doesn't fit. So he's like, I don't want to be king. I don't know what to do. So then he says, oh, I'm just gonna run away, and Archimedes is encouraging him.
Yeah, Archimedes is like, yeah, let's run away. Let's go out the side door. And every time he opens one of the doors, it's long live the king.
Which, okay. Think about it. If you were these people and you've been waiting however many decades for a king.
For a leader, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have one, of course they would be standing outside.
Yeah, at this point they're just ready to have anybody be the steady hand on the wheel.
Yeah, and so then he's like, I wish Merlin was here. And he's like, Merlin! And then Merlin magically just shows up. He's got his Bermuda outfit on.
Oh my god, it's so ridiculous with the sunglasses and the shorts and the shirt. I mean, if it wasn't a Disney movie, he would have had some other accoutrements, which would have been funny, but...
Yeah, when you bring up the thing about the squirrel, that would have been... If he would have just pulled out the box that had the squirrel in it, and Arthur would have been like, what? He would have been like, oh, like you said, a king can't rule without a queen. Then he transforms her into a girl. And Arthur gets all like, ugh.
A super hot red-headed squirrel would have been perfect.
You're right. Would have been so perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm kind of obsessed
Or like
now.
if she would have been running around like up in the rafters or something at this point, and he would have been like, oh yeah, ba-boom, and she like floats down. It would have been it would have been fantastic.
Yeah, no, it would have been really good.
Thanks, Disney. You're welcome, I should say.
And I mean, then Merlin is like, oh yeah, he like realizes that he's King Arthur, like whatever.
Oh, and your Knights of the Round Table, or would you prefer a square one?
Don't change history.
Everybody likes a round table.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing with the round table was that Arthur was like, oh, I want all my people, my knights to be equal, treated as equals as me, so the table needs to be round so everyone's equal.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was the whole behind the lore, was that Arthur, because King Arthur wasn't a real person. King Arthur saying, oh, I want everyone to be equal to me. When we're having,
or his council, at least.
Yeah, when we're having these series.
So basically, he's the deciding vote.
Well, he is, but he doesn't want to be seen as some unapproachable. He wants to be like everyone to have an equal say, essentially.
Yeah.
Not whoever's closest to the king or whatever.
Sure.
And I mean, that's the end of the movie. And then it goes, "Hail King Arthur, long live the king."
Yeah.
That's the end.
That's the end. It is. So, what was your favorite part, Kelly?
Squirrels, obviously.
Yeah, squirrel love. It was great. It was fantastic. It makes the movie, in my opinion.
But now it's kind of ruined because you've said that, and I'm like, God, that would have been so good. It would have just been so poignant and perfect. But I will give an honorable mention to the wizard duel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the other great. Well, there were many great scenes in this movie, but that one was fantastic.
No, the wizard duel is great. Even the stupid dishes scene with the two guys fighting the dishes is.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the pike scene.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
And there were, I mean, like we said, the jingles. Well, there was at the very beginning of the movie. I wrote down all the songs, but there was "Legend of the Stone," which was actually all right. Yeah, that was the
It explained things
at the very opening of the movie. But then there was Higgitus Figgitus, which is the Merlin packing song.
Yeah, which is good. And see, that's the thing is, I can't remember them this time, and usually I'm the one that writes them all down.
Yeah.
But, the music in this movie was good. I mean, it was the Sherman Brothers. They do a good job. They wrote The Monkey's Uncle. I mean, it's never forget.
David's never forget.
Yeah.
That's What Makes the World Go Round, which was the Fish song. That is what makes to and fro.
Yeah, which I also really liked. So I guess I really did like the music in this.
And then there was, which we didn't talk about, the squirrel song. A most befuddling thing is Merlin kind of,
Oh, yeah. That one, the scene overtook the song. Like, the song was kind of background.
And then the marvelous Mad Madam Mim, which is
which was really good.
Jingle.
She was... That was actually a really good part.
Yeah, no, it was.
Where she's just singing about herself. It was really cool.
She's nutty.
Yeah.
I mean, main characters, it's really Merlin and Arthur.
It's more Merlin than Arthur. Arthur is the pawn in this movie.
Well, yeah, okay, I've said this before, I think, but Arthur is technically the main character because it's about him, but Merlin is the protagonist.
Yeah.
Because Merlin's moving the story forward.
Yeah.
But Arthur, he doesn't really do anything. He just lets things happen.
He's like the pure, poor child. That's his whole thing. He's just like a moldable piece of clay.
Yeah, but Merlin is all out, I'm crazy, but he's also a better conscience than Jiminy.
and Merlin is a fun character. The way they have him in this movie is super fun. The possibilities that you could create with this multi-powered Merlin character are basically endless.
Well, yeah, his magic has no limits. That's what I'm saying.
And you could do so much fun stuff with it in movies and stuff. It would be really, really, really fun to drive Merlin around as a character in movies or TV.
It is really weird that he doesn't have more of a presence in the Disney universe.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's because they don't own him and there's so many other Merlins. Just if in this canon where you can see him and his powers and also his daffiness, I could have a lot of fun with that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, and then, okay, so the one thing that did, I mean, it's all connected to the story, but there wasn't really one villain or a clear villain of anything.
I thought Hector and Kay filled the villain role pretty well because I hated them.
Well,
I hated them.
but it was...
And they really were just evil for dumb's sake, which is kind of my least...
I know.
Which is what I hate the most. So to me, they felt villainous and I was fine with it.
I don't know. I halfway agree. I get it, but it wasn't...
I'll give you your point of it's not a super clear villain.
That was a little bit weak. That's all I'm saying.
It is a weak villain, and then Mim, who's a great villain, but just was a one scene.
Yeah, she had one scene.
If Mim had been in the movie early and often, as we often talk about,
you know what would have been really, really cool if Mim was the wolf, like she had transformed herself into the wolf.
So, okay, now we're talking about two perfect ideas that would have made this movie perfect. If you had had Mim as the wolf...
Because then she would have been there at the very opening part.
And the squirrel become a lady...
Yeah, no, that would have actually been really good. I'm so impressed with myself right
as
now.
A matter of fact, if Mim had been keeping the squirrel hostage until that scene... I mean, you're talking about making a movie really good.
They could have even had because it wasn't a very long movie. It was an hour and 20 minutes.
It was brutally short.
They could have even had another scene with just Merlin. He goes and sees Arthur, and he's like, "Oh, you're king. I'll be right back." And then he goes and what?
Okay.
David is hold on. David is waving his fingers around crazily.
I came up with an even better idea, just as a backup. No, I like my original idea better.
I kind of like that's what I'm saying is it'd be your original idea, but Merlin. Because there's like a side scene.
This is like conspiracy theories with the heart.
It's fine. No, so Mim goes after the scene where the squirrel bites her leg. We hadn't met Mim yet, but...
See, she should have just been in the movie more.
No. So after the whole scene where she gets better from being sick...
You feeling better, Ocho?
She's out in the forest doing whatever, and she sees the squirrel, and she's like, "Oh, you're the one that bit my leg," and that's where we learn that she was the wolf the whole time.
Oh,
and then she goes and captures the squirrel, and the squirrel is like, "Yes, thank you, I'm taking my bow."
Yeah.
And the squirrel's like, and... And then she goes and she captures the squirrel and she's like, blah, blah, blah. And that's when Merlin shows up because he's like, "I'll be right back." Because he just knows everything.
Right.
And so then he goes and he does something clever to Mim, takes the squirrel, and he's like, "It'll be all right, my darling," or whatever.
Wait. Let's have Archimedes free the squirrel somehow. Because Archimedes is secretly... the good character, even though he's a dick.
Because Archimedes could go and let the squirrel out, and he could peck the lady or something,
or he could peck a hole into the roof where the squirrel could run out.
Yeah, but then how would the squirrel follow him?
The squirrel was smart. Remember, she went all the way to the top of the tree to watch them walk away.
Yeah, so Archimedes is
knew.
Talking to her, and she follows him, and then they go in, and Merlin's like, "Eh?" And then Archimedes is like, "Oh, look who I found in the forest," and then.
And the squirrel comes up and hugs his leg.
Yeah.
And then Merlin gets it.
Yeah, and then transforms into a girl, and she's down there, and she's like, "Ah."
Yeah.
Okay, we got it.
And then you got this redheaded bombshell.
So actually, that's what happened at the end of the movie. It just got cut out.
And this movie, and this movie then could have a Disney princess. There you go. Thanks, Disney.
Yeah, wouldn't it have been Guinevere? Is that what her name is? Oh, but then
Guinevere?
But then she cheats on him later with Lancelot, which could have been a sequel, but whatever.
Right. Who cares about that?
Yeah.
Or we could have just not even talked about that.
No, I think our storytelling is great.
Yeah.
Where were we?
The end of the movie. It's over.
Oh,
main character and villains. We were talking about villains and somehow went off on that jag.
Whoa!
Side characters, the only side character is Archimedes.
And he's awesome. I really do like
Archimedes is great. He's a vastly improved version of Winnie the Pooh's rabbit.
Yeah, and so we already kind of touched on the animation, but really, from 100, you don't know what I'm going to say. From 101 Dalmatians through all of these movies that this guy directed, the animation is this kind of grainy, not good quality.
Well,
it's a style.
The problem is that there were a couple of scenes that were super bright and light and really looked good. But then a lot of the rest of it was the grainy kind of, why are you doing this?
Because, I mean, Fox and Hound wasn't quite as bad as this, but...
Yeah, but, I mean, it's sad when you're like, oh, Sleeping Beauty was better animated than this.
Well, Sleeping Beauty came out before this.
That's what I mean.
But that's what I'm saying, is like after that, when they started using this new technology to make the movies come out faster, the quality went down because it was started with 100, and when we get to 101 Dalmatians, you'll see it was like 101 Dalmatians, this Jungle Book, they're Rescuers, they're all animated in this very similar kind of grainy...
I remember 101 Dalmatians not looking great.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, is it's...
But I thought Jungle Book looked good, which is I'm going to have to see.
Yeah, no, it's the same. It's the same. This whole decade of 50s, 60s animation after Sleeping Beauty is like this. I mean, it's...
So they basically they basically backslide all the way until The Little Mermaid?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Jesus.
And
that's a long time.
I mean, think about when you had Oliver and Company to Little Mermaid, how much of a jump that was in animation.
Oliver and Company.
And then Little Mermaid to Aladdin, how much of a jump that was.
Yeah, and then Aladdin to Lion King is crazy.
And then even Lion King to Hunchback. I mean, think about that, how crazy Hunchback was with the animation.
Yeah, that's good.
So what was your biggest surprise or disappointment from the movie?
How wackadoodly funny this movie is. It's so funny.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that is, I will say that's probably my biggest one, but what I had written down was I'm just surprised that the movie is not succinct in any way. Like, it's so crazy.
No.
Which I guess is the same thing, but at the same time, it's not a long movie, but it wasn't boring, but it felt longer than an hour and 20 minutes.
The lack of storytelling and like it would have been so much better if it was 10 minutes longer and better explained.
Well, we already explained what would have happened, because that brings us to the point which I think we agree on. If you remade the movie, we already went through the whole thing. We changed about it.
Yeah. So we I only wrote I would add 10 minutes of movie, but we already explained what that 10 minutes of movie is.
And it's so perfect. Like that. Yeah. It's I mean, we're professionals, clearly.
Get a hold of us, guys.
What are your final thoughts? Would you recommend this movie to other people?
Of course. It's a must-watch. You should watch this movie. And once again, it's a great background movie.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. And I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for it. I know that I do, because I watched it a lot. And it actually, as far as animated movies, I watched this like 4 or 5 years ago, so it's definitely the more recent animated movie I've watched before doing this podcast. The budget was only $3 million, which was a lot back then, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's only made $12 million, which is not that much money for how long it's been.
It's not, but I mean, I can kind of see why people skip this movie over, but you really shouldn't.
No,
you really shouldn't.
It's fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Fun film.
It's way different for a Disney movie.
Yeah, no, it definitely... But I had a really hard time rating this movie because it's not an amazing movie, but I still really liked it.
I didn't. And I feel like I hit the perfect number.
Oh, okay. Well, I will tell you mine because I always go first.
Yep.
And it's just, this movie is just right in the middle of everything for me. So I gave it a 63%.
63?
Yeah. Which for me, it's right in that, like, that's essentially my average is around 60 to 64%. And so it's an average movie. Like, I really enjoyed parts of it. I just really wish that those other, like, since you pointed that out, like, it could have been a much better movie. So,
the fact that it's as funny as it is, I had to do a little better than that. I gave it a 70%.
Well, that's still, yeah.
It's still the same neighborhood. I mean, we're not anywhere off of each other, but even though this movie has massive flaws, just massive holes and flaws, it's great. It's hilarious. There are many great, super enjoyable scenes.
So, yeah, because when I said last time, oh, it has one of the funniest scenes in any Disney movie, I was talking about the squirrel scene.
No. I mean, spoiler alert for the next update episode. That's going to be the best scene. It's probably going to end up being one of the best scenes of all 400 whatever movies this ends up being. Because
I clearly remember that scene. It stuck with me as a child and as an adult. I literally sometimes want to be like, before you watch the movie, just go up to you and be like, but you wouldn't get it because you hadn't seen the movie. Yeah. So now I can do that.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a part of our life forever. So what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes score of this movie is?
Not good.
Really? But like what not good? I mean, because the Disney movies have like a weird not good grading curve.
I mean, I'm going to guess like with the curve, like you said, probably close to your rating, like a 70%.
So, I mean, it's actually between us. 66 with the critics, 73 with the people. I mean, we're in line. I think that there's a segment of people out there.
What was the score? I'm sorry.
66 with the critics, 73 with the people. There is a segment of people out there that just don't like this movie. It's not as extreme as a lot of other bad movies, but clearly this movie's a C. That's basically what it is. Is that it's not for everybody because it's incomplete.
Yeah, we clearly made it better. I mean, we established that.
Yeah, obviously.
So good.
Okay. So.
I'm picturing it so clearly in my head of how it could be. And
absolutely. And it could have just been so much better. All right, so we got number 39 this time.
Wait, stop it. Hold on. You're going too fast. You have to let it breathe for a second.
Trizzleate.
Okay.
Shout out.
Did you say what number?
39.
39. So this is a old movie, and David just made a face, so I'm guessing it's probably another animated movie, maybe? No? Uh-oh.
Number 39 is Tonka, which we've already seen.
Oh, God damn it, David.
That was the point of the face.
You're such a...
So now it's number 189.
So that's still a fairly old movie. That's going to be pretty old.
It's going to be somewhere back there.
David just made a very obscure...
Because I don't know exactly what this is.
Right, so David made a very obscure face. This is probably some weird...
Sorry.
Live action movie.
See, that's the whole thing is I don't know.
Okay.
So, 189 is from 1994. It's Squanto, A Warrior's Tale.
So it's like Tonka, the sequel, probably.
It could be. Yeah, that's actually kind of weird.
Oh, whoa, that is weird.
Yeah, that's a little serendipitous. So...
Wait, okay, so what do you think it's about?
I think that this is basically an updated, hopefully less racist Tonka.
Oh, you mean they're not going to have white people with paint on their faces, maybe?
In their whole body. Yeah. It's not going to be an Italian guy playing a Native American guy. Which, I mean, I liked Tonka, but it was rough.
Maybe there won't be any scalping. Okay, so...
Well, I hope there's scalping.
But
Scalping's
I think
good.
It's going to have similarities. He's going to find a horse.
Yeah, it's clearly a horse movie. I mean, obviously.
It's live action, obviously.
See, that was the other thing I wasn't 100% sure, but yeah, probably you're probably right.
All the 90s Disney movies, it's Aladdin.
Oh, yeah, because this is between Lion King and Pocahontas.
Oh, is it?
I would have...
Oh, so they just...
I'm just guessing. That's not a fact, but I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Squanto, A Warrior's Tale. So I think he's a younger Native American child, and he's trying to prove himself, and he finds a horse, and then he has to go fight somebody with an axe, and he's like, "Deh!" And
I'm gonna throw like a curveball, and I'm gonna say it's like...
Or maybe there's a wolf in there or something.
I'm going to throw in Revolutionary War times, Indians versus English people, like early America.
Wasn't that Tonka?
No. That was the 1800s.
Oh, I don't remember anything.
So I'm talking like the 1700s. So like 100 years before Tonka.
Ooh, and then maybe he's going to find like...
Like he fights George Washington or something.
Okay.
Okay.
You're dumb.
Or Christopher Columbus.
Oh, okay, who's gonna play Christopher Columbus?
Anybody, because nobody knows what that guy looks like. Yeah.
A racist?
Yeah, exactly. Some blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy.
Wasn't Christopher Columbus from Spain?
Honey, they have blonde-haired, blue-eyed Spain.
Oh, that's right. We've been through this before. My bad.
Yeah.
I'm not racist. I'm just ignorant.
Okay. If you want to follow us on Facebook or Instagram at the Disney Movies with the Hearts, if you want to send us an email at thedisneymovies@gmail.com, we appreciate all of those kinds of thingies.
And please share us with your friends. You know, give them a present.
Subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, be like, oh, is it your birthday? Is it an anniversary? Is it Valentine's Day? Is it Arbor Day? Here's a present. Here's at the Disney Movies with Hearts.
Yeah, check out these silly people.
Clearly, we have, yeah. And we would love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let us know what you think about our alternate ending to Sword in the Stone.
Oh, please, yes. As a matter of fact,
because we think
let
cool.
everybody know everything about the alternate ending and share it wide. No.
But
credit us.
But yeah, they have to give us credit. 'Cause they can't steal our idea. Trademark. Hello. Because we need Disney to pay us for our idea because we're smart.
Yeah. We'll take tickets. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the meantime, this has been At the Disney Movies with the Hearts.
I'm Kelly.
I'm David.
Bye!
All right, go ahead. Why am I so quiet? Why am I not popping my P's and my Q's? Why don't you say something?
Hi.
Because yeah, it's got to be comparative.
Okay, well I'm comparativing.
Okay.
Well, you can hear the rain now. Can you hear it? Do you hear what I hear?
Can you see what I see?
Well, no, I can't start it now. So glad that I can hear that. Hear you doing that so much clearer. Okay, hold on. I just need a minute. Do you need more ice in your drink?
I'll just need to pour another drink.
Just because if you're going to do that and make noise.
Man, this stuff is good.
The Evan Williams is still your favorite, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but this is just a nice, like, different kind of treat. It's still extremely cheap. At the Disney Movies with the Hearts, brought to you by Old Granddad. Old Granddad Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey.
Old Granddad, you're not paying us, but maybe you should. And I can't remember the name of this gin, actually.
Me neither. It's too complicated. It's like EJ something.
It's like RDJL gin or GNL gin or something. Some sort of acronym. I put way too much in there. Woo-hoo!
At the Disney Movies with the Hearts, brought to you by Liquor. Liquor. It makes life funnier.
Brought to you by alcohol.
Yeah.
Thanks, alcohol. Okay. The Sword in the Stone.